What's up, guys? It's Diego from the Foot and Fist Sports Network, back to talk about some more Premier League action. It is the Premier League aftermath from Week 5, and let me tell you, there were some actually really shocking results, some just some massive underperformances from some of the big clubs. I mean, we'll talk about those a little bit later on, but right now, let's go ahead and jump right into the breakdown of what we saw happening, starting off with Bournemouth versus Brighton. I couldn't remember for a second there who exactly it was. Bournemouth versus Brighton finished 2-1 for Bournemouth, and like I've said in my prediction video, this isn't the time for Brighton to keep their head down. You know, they had a tough start to the calendar, to the schedule, and even if Bournemouth aren't necessarily one of those teams that you look at and you think, I can't beat them, they are still a team that have good players like Defoe, they have King, they have a lot of really good players in that team. They also have Eddie Howe, who's an excellent manager. So to lose to them, especially for Brighton being away from home, isn't that big of a loss, I guess you could say, because they aren't necessarily teams that are going to be battling against Brighton for the relegation zone. What Brighton need to worry about is beating the teams that are directly in competition with them, while also getting as many points here and there as they can, mostly at home. Losing away from home is normal for even some of the best teams in the league, let alone a team like Brighton who just got promoted. So they do not need to get too, I guess you could say, they don't need to beat themselves down too much because of the rough start they've had. They've had a good win already this season. It's still early. You know, there's still 33 games left this season to play. And there's still time for them to get themselves out of that zone. And there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be struggling later on. Like Swansea are going to be struggling big time. Newcastle, even though they have a nice little 3-game win streak going on right here, you never know with them. There's always a bit of a collapse in that club waiting to happen. There's just always something there. So you never know with them. I don't think they're going to be in the relegation scrap, but you never know. There's also, obviously, Huddersfield, who are doing well now, but are they going to continue to do that? We don't know. There's plenty of teams in there that are going to be struggling, and Brighton just needs to make sure that they keep themselves at pace with them, winning as much as they can, but also not allowing their confidence to get beaten down too much when they continue to lose some games, because the Premier League is a whole different animal than the Championship, and especially because of the fact that they didn't bring in any real good players, they can't expect to really just have continuous early success in the league. They need to just keep their heads up. And for Bournemouth, you know, this is a good chance for them to start getting on a bit of a run, because they've had a really, really hard schedule this season, and this is a good chance for them to go out there and really show that they are still one of the good teams in the league, because last season they finished, around the top 10. So this is a chance for them to get themselves back on a run. Confidence was kind of low after playing against Arsenal and losing 3-0, but now they beat a team that's more or less, you know, a couple of levels behind them, realistically. They need to get themselves going, and it has taken a little bit of time for Jermaine Defoe to gel with the rest of that team, but I think that now that he's going to get himself on the score sheet a bit more, he's going to really be a huge factor in there for Bournemouth, and I think moving forward, they're still going to be a tough team to beat for just about anybody. I think that 3-0 loss to Arsenal was just kind of, not a fluke, but definitely just a poor performance for Bournemouth in general. Like, they just didn't go out there with the right mentality for some reason. But I think that going forward, they're still going to be a top team and really tough to beat for even the best teams in the league, especially at their home stadium. In comes Roy Hodgson, and in come more losses. I mean, it just doesn't change. The story doesn't change for Roy Hodgson. He's never been a good manager. He did well with Fulham a while back, and that's where he got himself as a reputation as being a decent English manager. But in reality, I mean, the guy has failed in the big jobs he's had. He failed massively with England. He failed massively with Liverpool. So what exactly do you think this guy is going to be capable of with Crystal Palace, especially coming in the first game? There was no way in hell he was going to win, especially against a team like Southampton, who, yes, they have some really poor performances in their system, and they oftentimes blow easy games. But against, you know, a team like Crystal Palace, there was never really going to be a threat of Palace beating them. Yes, they have some good players, Palace, but they just haven't really shown that they are a Premier League team right now. For some reason, they're having an awful time mixing. They're having an awful time just getting any kind of confidence going. And Roy Hodgson, his tactics aren't that good, and he's just not a good manager in general. So I wasn't really too worried that Crystal Palace would actually get out of this awful slump that they've been. That's 0-5 to start the season, and they're looking like early relegation contenders. And obviously, the players they have there are better than that. But if you don't start winning soon, there's always a chance of you finding yourself in a late season battle against some of the really tough teams that, you know, even the worst teams in the league, once they find themselves like in dire straits at the very end of the season, that's when they really start hitting it, because they put every little ounce of energy they have in there. Whereas maybe early on they're a bit demoralized. They don't give everything they have because they find themselves constantly getting humiliated and stuff like that. But at the end of the season, they give everything they have. And if Crystal Palace aren't careful, they might be in the scrap with those teams who have more heart than them. Because realistically, Crystal Palace, it's not the quality of their players that's missing. It's the quality of their manager, the quality clearly of their board, and the heart of the players. Because once the players realize that what their managers are doing isn't working, they've just got to band together and do the fucking job on their own. They got to do that. If not, the team is not going to find themselves out of this situation because Roy Hodgson is not the manager to take Crystal Palace to being a really good club like the players that they have warrant. Any team that has Zaha, Puncheon, who else do they have up front? They have they used to have Balazi, who was a great player. They have Cabaye on the team. They have plenty of good players in there. They have Timothy Fosu-Mensah, a great young player, Loftus-Cheek. I've said that a few times. They also have Benteke up front. That's what I was thinking of. They have players out there who can get tons of goals, who can create a lot of chances, but they just aren't creating them or scoring them. And they have to. They have to. The players, it's time for them to step up, basically tell the manager to kick rocks and score and get the team going where they need to go until the manager can figure out a system that they think can work. And, I mean, that's not nice to say. I don't generally like that. I like players respecting the managers, but are you really going to trust Roy Hodgson? If you're a Crystal Palace fan, do you trust Roy Hodgson? Absolutely not. He's never proven that he deserves that trust. As for Southampton, this is a nice little win. A 1-0 win away from home is always good for a team like Southampton, who are borderline mid-range, mid-table. That's what they always are. So there's nothing really too special about them, but there's nothing awful about them either. So this is pretty much what you would expect from them and what they needed to do. So that is a good win for them. Moving forward, I'm assuming they're going to continue to get results like this. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. Huddersfield versus Leicester was actually a really surprising result because it finished 1-1, and I expected Leicester to do a bit better against Huddersfield, playing on the counterattack maybe a bit more. And obviously Huddersfield, having an offensive style, they were going to leave some space for Leicester, and that's what they thrive on. That is exactly what Leicester thrives on. And oddly enough, they were only able to get a 1-1 draw. And it just shows that Mahrez isn't really firing on all cylinders. We saw early in the season, Vardy was looking good, and obviously it's still early in the season, but in the first couple matches, Jamie Vardy was looking tremendous, and even last week he got a goal against Chelsea, albeit by a penalty, but still it was a goal, and he had a pretty decent performance on the counterattack. But right now, they just aren't looking like the team, anywhere near the team they were at the end of last season, let alone the beginning, or the whole season of 2 seasons ago. I mean, they just aren't looking like a solid team. They brought in a few new players, nothing special there, and no really game-changing players where they have to gel in strongly, but there's just, for some reason, they aren't able to do a lot against the small teams. That's where they struggle, and they do pretty well against the big teams, but they just can't beat the small teams. And that is exactly what a team like them need to be doing. If they really want to be competing for those Europa League spots, which allegedly is what they're going to be after, they have got to beat the teams that are below them in quality. And Huddersfield is, without a doubt, below them in quality, regardless of how good or how entertaining the style of football is. It's attacking, but it leaves plenty of space. It's been shown against some other teams. And let me tell you, Leicester, they need to wake up. Jamie Vardy needs to wake up and get a few more goals. And obviously, he isn't the person to blame. It's more than likely the defense because Wes Morgan, even last season, was not performing well. The new guy that they have, Maguire, is a pretty good center back. He's nothing great. Nothing to really write home there. Fuchs is getting kind of old. Danny Simpson isn't necessarily the most solid player out there. They lost Danny Drinkwater, which is kind of a big loss for them because he was one of their best players. He's not a great player, but he is one of their best players. He was, at least. And obviously, they don't have Conte anymore, so that's a big loss. But they just overall, they aren't looking like a very good unit. That's the big problem. And Iheanacho needs to start getting more game time because let me tell you, that guy is better than Slimani. The guy is better than Okazaki. If he's playing, he's going to score you goals. I don't understand why they bought him if he's not going to be a starter, especially because he's easily better than all their other starters, maybe on par with Jamie Vardy, but he has a lot more potential than Jamie Vardy has ever had. So he needs to be playing a lot more, especially because they signed him. He needs to be there. He needs to get his confidence up in a new system. He needs that shit. I had him in FIFA 16 on Leicester City, and let me tell you, that guy was an absolute goal machine. So put him in there right now. William Shakespeare, whatever the fuck your name is. Put him in there and fucking get this guy going. If not, you're screwed. As for Huddersfield, not once again, much like the same story with Brighton. Losing or dropping points against these teams is not something that you need to drop your heads about. Realistically, you are fighting for relegation. For fighting for survival in the Premier League. Huddersfield aren't a team that can be looking at like domination and stuff like that. They aren't looking at like mid-range. They aren't looking even for like 14th. That would be great for them, but they can't really be their objective. Being a newly promoted team, and especially not having brought in any real like top quality players, they need to be focusing on simply surviving in the Premier League, getting that Premier League money next season, and investing that money into the team and possibly rising up the ranks, like Bournemouth did originally. If they don't do that and they focus a little bit too much on just getting as many points, like getting as much wins, if they lose a game, it doesn't matter as long as they win. That's not a good thing to do. And yes, this is a good chance for them after drawing with Leicester, which realistically is a team that they probably should have lost against. It is a good result. I'm just a little bit worried about what's going to happen in them moving forward. Are they going to worry a little bit? What's their team going to be like when it really starts getting into crunch time? We don't really know. That's all that worries me about Huddersfield, because the way they play, their manager, I like both of them, and they have some decent players. I do like them. I hope that they do survive. I'm just a little bit worried about what's going to happen to them once the other teams start to sort of figure them out. And we've already seen that some of them have already started to figure them out. They aren't scoring as many goals as they were, and even at home, they weren't. I don't know. They're just not looking as solid as they were looking early on in the season. And obviously, it always happens with a team that's really never been in the Premier League, with players that have almost never been in the Premier League. So it is something to take into consideration. Like, what's next for them? I don't really know, but hopefully they will survive. Now it's time for easily the most hilarious result, in my opinion, of the weekend, and that is Liverpool 1-1 versus Burnley. I mean, Burnley, of all teams, able to stop Liverpool at Anfield. I mean, just what the fuck is going on with this team? I mean, easily, with Coutinho starting, they should have gone out there and destroyed Burnley. But they weren't even able to do that. They weren't even able to put two past Burnley, and their offense is what everybody talks about, how it's so insane, and I've said it a few times too, that their offense is really, really good. It's their defense that lacks, and I mean, holy shit, does it lack. I mean, not able to beat Burnley at home. How are these guys supposed to be considered title challengers? And I saw a lot of people doing prediction videos that were talking about how they were going to finish above Chelsea in the league. They were going to finish possibly above one of the two Manchester clubs, above Spurs. Like, are you fucking kidding me, man? They have no chance of finishing in the top three, maybe the top four, but I don't even see them finishing there. I see them like 5th or 6th, depending on what happens with Arsenal. I mean, they just don't have the quality. They have offensive quality for days, but Coutinho isn't happy to be there. You really think that Coutinho wants to still be in Liverpool after all these years, and him clearly flirting with Barcelona and Liverpool, clearly not letting him go to the club that he wants to go? I mean, you really think he wants to be there? You really think he's going to be like, okay, yeah, man, you guys didn't let me do what I wanted to do. You guys didn't let me live my dream of playing with the best team in the world, or one of the best 3 teams in the world. No, I'm going to sit here and borderline have to go. I'm literally going to have to score 4 goals a game to not draw. I mean, you really think that Coutinho's happy about that? Hell fucking no. So he is not going to be wanting to give them his full effort. Obviously, he's going to have good performances because he wants to still be in the limelight for one of those teams. But regardless, I'm pretty sure Barcelona are going to come at him next year and try to sign him anyway. Maybe even in January, because Coutinho isn't going to be giving his all. He's definitely going to be trying to push that move even harder than he's already pushed it. So, I mean, Liverpool are fucked. They are fucked because until January, they can't improve this defense. And Jurgen Klopp has shown time and time again that he is not capable of improving this defense with the players he has. He simply does not have the tactical ability to perform well against the top teams in the league in defense, regardless. I mean, just think about how badly this is to have drawn a 1-1 at home to Burnley. Liverpool are fucked. I mean, they have no chance of winning this league. No chance in fucking hell. Absolutely not. So, fuck you, Liverpool. I love it. And fuck you, Jurgen Klopp. I like you a lot, but you're a dummy. I mean, ever since your Dortmund days, you have shown that you have not really improved as a manager. You have not evolved with the times. You have not figured out the clear defensive weaknesses of your club after you've been there for what? This is the 3rd year. And even with Borussia Dortmund, don't get me wrong. He did well with Borussia. He won a couple titles. He got to the Champions League final. But if you look at what happened, if he didn't have Mats Hummels, if he didn't have Subotic, if he didn't have all those great core players in that team, he probably wouldn't have done shit. Absolutely not. Especially because Bayern Munich was obviously struggling big time. But still, they would not have done shit. They just wouldn't have, because those defenders right there, Mats Hummels and Subotic, they can really just do whatever the fuck they want and still be able to not concede. I mean, they're just great defenders, and he has nowhere near that quality defenders in Liverpool, and that's exactly why he's getting fucked in the ass every single time, because he just he's not capable of setting up a defense with some mediocre players. That's just it. And Burnley, hats off to you guys for getting this result, because going to Anfield is always tough. Regardless of how bad Liverpool are, it's always tough to go to a stadium like Anfield and get a draw, regardless of what type of form they're in. Liverpool obviously weren't on the best of form, but still, what was it? They lost 5-0 last week, so that's 2. Like I fucking said, I just realized it. Like I said in that prediction video last week, or for this week, ever since losing to City, Liverpool are going to have a hard time getting themselves back after that loss. They always have they have hot streaks or they have cold streaks. Now they're on a cold streak. What are they going to do next week? We're going to find out, and I have a feeling it's going to be a poor performance. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be like a 1-0 win or just another bad performance, bad result like this. We're going to find out, but I love this shit. I love when Liverpool fucking suck. I fucking love it. Burnley, you guys need to take this momentum, take this to your next home game, and absolutely roast whoever shows up and beat them and get 3 points. I don't have a lot of confidence in you guys, but if there's anybody that can do it, it's definitely not Burnley. Newcastle versus Stoke City somehow managed to finish 2-1 to Newcastle after Stoke City had a great performance against Manchester United, and it just goes to show you that at home, they are a tremendous team, and away from home, they tend to struggle quite a bit because for some reason they just don't have that energy, they don't have that quality that they show against anybody at home. And I guess it's just typical Stoke City to really make the hard teams have a hard time, and against the small teams drop points, and just that's exactly what keeps them from doing really well year after year, because they could possibly get themselves into like the top 8, maybe around 8th, maybe even 7th on a great season, but they just seem to lack that extra little bit of quality against some of the small teams. Maybe they get a little bit too cocky. I don't really know what it is, but even in FIFA, every time you simulate a season, they are always like top 3, top 4, even top 7 sometimes. Like on their bad season, for some reason in that game, they have them like top 6. It's weird. They're always battling for the league title. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess clearly the guys at FIFA believe that Stoke City have the good players, and I've been saying this for a while, that Stoke City do have some really good players. They just seem to have some kind of issues beating the team that they really should beat. It's bad for them. Clearly, the directors probably want a little bit more, and the fact that they got Jesse Rodriguez on loan maybe shows a bit more ambition, but realistically, is that enough? I don't really think it is. They brought in some decent players apart from Jesse, but nobody that's really going to take them to that next level. And most importantly, their manager, Mark Hughes, yes, he's a decent manager. He's good at not really beating the top teams, but at least giving them a hard time. But is he really the type of manager that's going to take you to that next level? I mean, they need to be going after somebody like Rafa Benitez, who can really get them around the Champions League area if he has decent players. I mean, with the team that Stoke City have right now, he could probably get them around the Europa League spots. I mean, Rafa Benitez is that type of manager. And how long is he going to want to stay with Newcastle if this season they have a hard time? I don't really know. That might be an interesting option for them to try to go after. But still, Stoke City have what it takes to do well. They just seem to drop points against teams like this, like Newcastle, who are okay teams, have some okay players, but realistically are going to be in the relegation zone. Or not in the zone, but they're going to be battling for the survival spots. So they need to be doing better against those small teams. That's the big problem that they have. Newcastle, 3 games in a row that they have won. Probably beaten a couple teams that they maybe shouldn't have won. They won that Swansea game at the pretty much the last kicks of the game. So that was a I'm not going to say lucky win, because they did do a great job scoring that goal. Lascelles was left completely wide open. So it was more like Swansea blew it as opposed to Newcastle really going out there and getting the dominant win. But still, they got the win. And before that, I can't remember who they beat, but they had a nice little 3-1 win. I think it was West Ham. Yeah, maybe. Then they went out and they've beaten Stoke City, who are a really good team. So they have to be happy with that. They beat a team that really they probably wouldn't have expected to beat. So they have to be happy with that, and they have to be happy with the way that Rafa Benitez is getting this team to move forward and really improve the team, and without really investing a whole lot in the transfer market. And this has to be a sign to the owner of Newcastle, who is Mike Ashley, who continues to not invest in this fucking club, when clearly he has one of the best managers in the world. Not like top 5, but definitely top 10 best managers in the world, based on what he's achieved. The guy is a Champions League winner, for fuck's sake. He's managed Real Madrid, Liverpool, Napoli in Italy. He's managed Valencia. He's managed some big clubs. Newcastle isn't a big club. They've had some okay history over the years. Alan Shearer definitely helped them a lot with that. But they are lucky as hell to have a guy like him, when so many other teams in Europe probably would like to have him. So they need to give him the right resources to really build this team the way he wants it to be, because if not, then the guy's just eventually going to get sick of it and go. They're already lucky as fuck that he stayed this season, because he was complaining a lot about how he wants new players. He needs to bring in some players to really guarantee this team can improve. It's not about just surviving in the Premier League for a guy like him. It's about striving in this league. And if they don't give him the right resources, how the fuck is he supposed to do that? You can't possibly expect him to do well with the players he has, and yet he's doing pretty well. He lost the first 2 games, but now 3-game win streak. I mean, since when? When was the last time Newcastle had a 3-game win streak in the fucking Premier League? When? I can't think of one. Last time they were in the Premier League, they had a fucking hell of a time. I remember watching True Jordy. He was fucking depressed, drinking is drinking his ass off every single week. Not the happy kind of drinking, the sad kind of drinking. I mean, that's a massive Newcastle fan. Like, I mean, you have to understand. With a guy like Benitez, who is used to managing, like I said, Real Madrid, Napoli, Liverpool, teams that are consistently in the Champions League, it's either pay up, give the guy what he needs, or he's going to go find another club because there's plenty of Champions League teams that are going to want him, without a doubt. I mean, Newcastle, hopefully for you guys, the owner will finally give you what the club deserves and actually invest. But if not, man, you're going to lose your best manager you've ever had. Without a doubt, the best manager you have ever had. And that means that you're not going to be able to attract any of the good players that you could have possibly attracted next season if you do manage to survive in the league. Not going to be able to eventually possibly get yourselves into the European spots. Maybe like way down the line with another manager. Maybe if like it's a really good manager as well. But realistically, there aren't any managers that are going to want to sign for Newcastle that can guarantee what Rafa Benitez can guarantee. Now we have Manchester City, who absolutely destroyed Watford 6-0 at Watford Stadium, which is just... It's just an awful result for Watford. And I was actually kind of surprised by it because Watford, previous to this game, were playing really, really well. They had that 3-3 draw with Liverpool. I think last week they also got a win. So they've been playing pretty well. They have quite a nice little record in the league this season. I think they were up to like 7, maybe even 9 points. No, I don't think 9. I think they had 7 points, which is really, really good. Really, really, really respectable after the amount of games that were played. So 4. I mean, just overall, Watford have really developed into a pretty decent team. They brought in a lot of really good players. The manager's also been showing that he's really, really good, and this result, I think, it's not really realistically, like, it's not a sign that Watford are trash or they're going to be in the relegation zone. I think it was just a matter of wrong place, wrong time against the wrong fucking team. Because Manchester City, once they get going, there's nobody that's going to stop them again, except for maybe like Spurs, United, Chelsea. Nobody else in this league has the defensive capabilities of stopping them. Just nobody in this league. Once they start going. I mean, and there was never a chance of Watford really doing that because they conceded 3 against Liverpool, and Liverpool are nowhere near as powerful as Manchester City. So, I mean, just realistically, they got fucked up. They got absolutely fucked up. Aguero got another hat trick. If I'm not mistaken, that's his 3rd hat trick against Watford. I can't remember what they said, if it was a 2nd or 3rd hat trick against Watford, but either way, he must love playing there, man. He must fucking love those guys because they clearly don't have any idea of how to defend him. Other than that, Gabriel Jesus, I think, got a goal. Sterling got a couple. So overall, just really good game for City. I mean, not a whole lot to say. It was just classic City going out there, absolutely smashing a team that wasn't really up for it, wasn't capable of stopping them, and just, hey, that's what you got to do, man. If you're trying to win the Premier League, that's what you got to do. You got to dismantle the small teams. I have no complaints about that. City did a great job. They had a tremendous performance. A lot of respect for what they did. I've always been very vocal about the fact that I don't think that Guardiola is anywhere near as good a manager as he is. But hey, as long as he starts beating the small teams, then you can't really say that the guy's failing until the end of the season when he will have failed once again. And Manchester United will have won the league once again. So fuck you, City. Fuck you, Guardiola. But I'll leave that until the end of the season. Anyway, all right. Watford, do not take this as like an absolute beatdown. Don't take this absolute beatdown as the defining moment of your season. Absolutely not. This is just a very small, well, very big, I guess you could say, stumbling block. But it's very easy to get over it once you've fallen over it. Realistically, I mean, all the other teams in the league, they'll still know that Watford are going to be a tough team to go against. Maybe no one will have as much apprehension, like, okay, going at Watford, maybe we need to play a little bit smarter. No, I don't think so. I think that after seeing that, they are still going to feel like they can go out there and destroy Watford. But still, Watford is still a pretty decent team that nobody's really just going to run over without having the quality of, say, City, United, Chelsea, maybe even Arsenal offensively. Defensively, though, Arsenal will concede some goals against Watford. Overall, the top 3-4 teams, Spurs for sure, they're still everybody apart from them are still going to have a hard time going to Watford and beating them. Moving on, we have the most Tony Pulis game of the Tony Pulis West Brom era. I mean, only Tony Pulis can be at home and fail to score a goal against West Ham, who have one of the shakiest defenses in the world, and also keep a clean sheet against West Ham, who have a decent offense. Like, what the fuck, man? How the fuck is a game against West Ham going to finish 0-0 this season? I mean, how the fuck is that even possible? They conceded 10 goals in the first 3 games of the season, and at home, you aren't even able to score 1 on them, and their offense isn't even able to score 1 on you. It's just fucking Tony Pulis at his finest. And finest isn't a compliment. Let's be very, very clear. I dislike the fuck out of Tony Pulis' style. He gets results. You cannot deny that. He goes out there and he gets results. But is it fun to watch? No. I mean, I feel bad honestly, for West Brom fans for having to see that all over and over again. I'm assuming they're probably used to it by now, and they're probably thinking, like, he gets the results, so who gives a shit about how the performances are, but there have to be some atrociously boring games, and this one included. I mean, there's just some awful games. I didn't see this game live, thankfully, but I did watch the highlights of it, and there were like 4 or 5 highlights the whole game. In 90 minutes, there were like 4 or 5 highlights, and half of them were like sky shots. Just what the fuck, man? What the fuck is up with that? Awful, awful, awful performance for both teams. Nothing. I mean, I guess West Ham going to West Brom are probably pretty satisfied with getting a point because of the fact that they were having such a bad season. Apart from this, I guess the last 2 games now, they've drawn 1, won 1. They need to continue that if they want to continue to get themselves sort of out of that Slaven Bilic zone. By Slaven Bilic zone, I mean getting absolutely fucked up because we need to see what the fuck's going to happen with Slaven. He's been having a really hard time. Are they going to want to keep him? I don't fucking know. Having a draw with West Brom isn't a bad thing, but if he loses the next game, is he going to stay? Hard to say, man. It's hard to say. He probably doesn't really deserve to stay, regardless, but we'll see what happens there. We will see what happens. But either way, just awful performance. I'm not going to say anything else about this game. Speaking of 0-0 draws, we now have Tottenham versus Swansea, who finished 0-0. And somehow Tottenham at Wembley have once again failed to get 3 points. I mean, they have got to start finding a way to win games at Wembley. Because as far as I know, they've never won one at the new era Wembley. I mean, what the fuck, man? And this hair is really starting to get on my nerves. Anyway, they have been unable to get a win there for who knows how long. And that's a problem when that is your home stadium. Like, I don't know how long they're going to be there at home, but Jesus fucking Christ, man. Find a way to win at Wembley, your home stadium. You've got to get that. Because if not, they are not going to do well in this league. They aren't going to be able to consider themselves real title contenders if they actually have a harder time winning at home than they do away. It's just so shocking. It's just so bizarre to see them with such great players be unable to beat Swansea, man. Swansea. Like, I understand maybe if Harry Kane's having a bit of a rough patch, but right now he's been scoring a ton of goals. He scored against Malta for England. He scored a couple in the Champions League. He scored a couple last week. He's been on fire, but for some fucking reason, they just aren't able to get a good run, especially at Wembley, man. And that really is sad for them because that's gonna be the defining factor. They're already quite a few points behind the top of the league, thankfully, because obviously I don't want any competition. I want City to also fall behind us as far as possible. But you know, they are already far away from the top 2 teams. I don't know if they're on par with Chelsea yet, but still they're a few points away from us. I mean, what the hell is going to happen with them going forward? Are they going to be able to find a cure to this curse? Are they going to continue to struggle and continue to drop points at home? Or are they going to just, I don't know, are they going to be a top 4, not really do anything, not really push? It's a shame considering the players that they have, because if they don't do it this season, if they don't win the league this season, I honestly don't think that they ever will with this group of players. Like, I mean, they have got to do it right now. This is it, man. This is it. They have great young players, they have a great chance, and they have the right manager. I mean, they just have to do it. They have to do it right now. Starting with finding a way to not be absolute dog shit at Wembley, their home stadium. As for Swansea, obviously a great result. This being away from home against Spurs, getting a draw, well, hell of a result for them. That's exactly what they're going to be hoping for going over to London. I mean, it doesn't get any better for them. You know, they dropped points against United. I don't think that they've played against any other of the top teams, but they dropped points against Newcastle last week, and now they managed to draw against Tottenham Hotspur. It just shows how amazing this league is. You know, how just about any team can get just about any result against any other team in the league at any given fucking time. And it's an insane league, man. It's insane. You have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe United and City will both drop points this weekend, and this draw will look a little bit less of a problem for Tottenham as they get a little bit closer. But Jesus, man, they have got to figure out what the fuck is wrong with that Wembley curse. On to another 0-0 draw. It was Chelsea versus Arsenal, and somehow these two teams with so much attacking power and defensive frailties, especially in Arsenal's case, were somehow capable of not scoring a single goal. I mean, it's weird, man. It's weird, and I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this game was boring. I disagree. I honestly, wholeheartedly disagree. I thought this game was actually really, really fun. There was plenty of back and forth action, plenty of chances for both sides. They balanced each other out because they were both pretty even on the day, but I think that Arsenal probably could have gotten the win there. I mean, arguably they had the better game. Chelsea had some chances, but David Luiz also got himself a red card, so I thought it was honestly a really fun game. It had just about everything. Momentum swings. It also had plenty of drama with the red cards, plenty of fouls. The referee was getting booed nonstop because he had a few dubious calls for both teams. So it wasn't a great performance from the refs, but still there was also some really good calls for offsides and things like that. It was an overall pretty fun game. I don't think that the fact there were no goals means it was a boring game. It just means that the teams were pretty much balanced out. That's just pretty much it. I mean, overall, I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the hell out of it. And obviously, anytime two title rivals for my club, Man United, drop points against each other, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. I would have loved to see like a 2-2 draw, a goal-filled game. But hey, as long as they both drop points, that's perfectly fine with me. I don't give a shit. I don't care about either one of those teams doing well. So fuck them. I enjoyed the hell out of that game. I enjoyed the result even more. As for what the fuck is next for them, it's hard to really say because both teams, they're off and on. And Chelsea at Stamford Bridge are usually pretty much invincible. And I think this, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first home draw of Antonio Conte's era at Chelsea. I mean, you have to understand, man, that's a bit of a chink in the armor of Chelsea and Conte because they are usually playing in a fortress every time they play at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal never have a lot of luck playing at Stamford Bridge, and now getting a draw probably isn't the worst of results for them considering how their progression has been so far this season. But still, it's never a nice thing to not win a derby. So both teams are going to be a little bit upset about that. David Luiz having a red card might be a bit of a factor going into the next game. We'll see. I don't really think that David Luiz is a good defender in the first place. I think he's pretty damn mediocre. He makes a lot of mistakes, which makes him kind of a bad defender. He has his moments where he's really good, but I don't think he's that much of a loss for Chelsea. Yes, they don't have any other great replacements. Like if you think about who's in their team, they have Cahill, who's not great. He's okay. You have David Luiz, not great. He's okay. Azpilicueta, who is a left back, adapted to being a center back. He's a good left back. As a center back, he does his job. He's nothing special. Marcos Alonso is a wing back, so he doesn't really count there. Who else do they have? I mean, they have Rudiger, who is a decent defender, nothing special. Once again, their defense is borderline protected by Conte. I mean, if there was no Conte, they'd be completely fucked. I mean, they would be hitting run over constantly because that defense is shady at best. It's shady at best, especially when you have David Luiz always ready to get a red card or always ready to give away a penalty. I think that Chelsea and Arsenal are just going to be neck and neck all season long to be seeing realistically who's going to be finishing in that third spot. Because third, fourth, I think fifth are going to be really, really close. Liverpool probably getting themselves in there, but I think it's more like between Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham to really decide who is going to be the top. Is going to be the last third place team. It's going to be the main battle for between those three teams. I think it's going to be an interesting one. And realistically, based on what we've seen, they're pretty average. They're not average. They're pretty even because all three of those teams drop points on the same day, and overall they've been having sort of a similar season. None of those three teams really look stellar. On their day, they've looked really good, but overall they've been struggling a lot, and they just seem like they're going to be very balanced all season long. Last, and absolutely not least, in fact, it is the very best game of the weekend. It is United versus Everton, and it's probably the best only because it's obviously my club, but still, in my opinion, it was a very, very fun game. It had just about everything, because Everton, realistically, like based on the performance they put on, probably didn't deserve to lose 4-0. They scored quite a... I mean, they didn't score... I was about to say they scored quite a few goals. They clearly didn't score any goals, and they conceded quite a few. But they had some chances. Rooney in particular had a couple of chances, but the big problem that Everton are having right now is the fact that Wayne Rooney, at his age, he simply isn't a player that can do everything on his own, and he's sort of being forced to do that because Sigurdsson hasn't been playing well. Nobody in that team has really been playing well, and they desperately need Yannick Bolasie to come back in and feed in some crosses because even Sandro, the striker, he's not a good striker, man. They got him from Barcelona. He's a player that was expected to be doing well. He got like 14 goals in, 30-something game. No, I don't think that's what it was. Anyway, he has a decent goal-scoring record for Barcelona, but that's scoring for Barcelona. You know what I mean? You're coming in for one of the best teams in the world, and if you're playing in La Liga, which for the most part, that's where he got all his game time, he's playing against far inferior teams to Barcelona. So they generally win like 4 or 5-0. So there's always plenty of goal-scoring spread for just about every player in that team. So you can't really take that with like being an absolute proof that he is a great striker. With Everton, we're seeing that he is not that level, man. He blows a lot of chances. He has some poor movement at times. And just overall, I don't think he's going to be at the level to really keep Everton among the title race. Or not the title race, for the top 8 race. The Europa League spot races. Rooney, he's without a doubt their best player. But he's just too old to be as consistent as they need him to be. And without the right service, he's not going to be able to perform for them. And obviously, having lost Lukaku, that's a very big loss. I mean, without a doubt, that's a big loss. But they need to find a way for the whole team to chip in and sort of patch up the holes that losing him has left. Unfortunately for them, I don't think that they brought in the right enough players to really do it. They brought in some great players. Sigurdsson, like I said, is tremendous. They brought in some good players. They made a really good set of signings. But it's still not enough because Romelu Lukaku guarantees you 20 to 25 goals a season. I don't see anybody in that team guaranteeing them 15 goals a season. Rooney could possibly give them 10. Sigurdsson, he could possibly give them like 10 assists, maybe like 8 goals, but that's still not filling up the hole that Lukaku left in terms of goals. They have got to find a way to spread the goal scoring among the team and get themselves into top form. Because if not, they're going to continue to concede a lot of goals. That's now 10 goals. That's 10 goals. I can't talk today. 10 goals in 3 games. That's fucking as bad as West Ham at the beginning of the season. I mean, just what the fuck? They lost 3-0 to Spurs, 3-0 to fucking Atalanta, who is an Italian team that they lost to in Europa League, and now they lost 4-0 to us. They are looking awful. They have got to figure it out immediately. Koeman has got to figure this shit out. As for United, the game goes on, man. The drums keep on beating. We are continue to fucking go on and on and on and beat some of these teams and just absolutely smash them. We've now smashed every team we've played against between the Premier League and the Champions League, except for Stoke City, who had an amazing performance against us. I mean, it seems like nobody can stop us, because even when it seems like our opponents are starting to get back in the game, boom, baby, another goal scored. Boom, just like that. The fucking collapse begins for the opponents. We just pile on the goals. I mean, we get 1 goal, then we get another 2. We get another 3 more. I mean, it was tremendous. And I had one of the most hilarious experiences of all time when watching this game. I was at work, unfortunately, at the hotel. I work at the reception. So there's a lot of times where when I'm watching the game, some dummy has to come in, do a check-in, and I miss a major amount of the game. Unfortunately, that's what happened here. I missed about 10-minute spells, probably 4 different times. And shout out to my friend Bakuzi Gabriele, who was at the game watching it with me. And it was hilarious because with 10 minutes left, a client walked into the hotel who is kind of a dick because he is a fascist. But that's a different story. That's a story for another day. Anyway, so he comes in. He starts watching the game. He thinks that he is an absolute connoisseur of football, right? He works on TV in a place here in Italy. And he discusses performances, he discusses matches, he breaks them down. He does sort of what I do, but on TV. So you would expect the guy to really have some knowledge. Unfortunately for him, based on all the conversations I've had with the guy, he really doesn't know shit. Unfortunately, he knows absolutely nothing. And that sort of is just confirmed by the fact that he's a Rome fan who hates Totti. How the fuck are you a Rome fan who despises Francesco Totti, who, yes, doesn't have a brilliant mind or anything like that. He's kind of a dummy. But he was the only reason that Rome were even competitive. Anyway, whatever. That's a whole different side story. The guy shows up with like 10 minutes left. After a couple minutes that he's there, he says, there's no way United are going to score another goal. And it was 1-0. Literally, right when he said that. Not 20 seconds later. Bad pass from the defender. Mkhitaryan, 2-0. The guy's just absolutely silent. I looked over to my friend. My friend called him an absolute pindaccio, who is just a guy who brings bad luck. He's a jinx artist. A few minutes go by. There's a free kick for Lukaku, right? The guy, what does he say? 85 million pounds for Lukaku. What an absolute joke. Euro for Lukaku. What an absolute joke. He's nowhere near worth that money. What happens? Lukaku scores. He's silent once again. The giggles are strong once again for me and my homie over there. What happens a couple minutes later? 3-0, right? He says, all right, listen, can we put on Kiev or Atalanta so we can see what's going on in Serie A? I'm like, okay. I put it on. Luckily, it goes to halftime. I put the United game back on. 4-0. The guy literally had just said that the game wasn't going to have any more goals. 4-0. The guy's an absolute idiot, man. He said 3 things weren't going to happen. All 3 came true. It was just one of the most hilarious things ever. Like, as soon as he walked away, after going on a tirade about how he's a fascist, but he hates Agnelli, so he hates Juventus, he hates Ferrari, he hates, what was it, Jeep, he hates all that shit, Fiat. He hates everything that's pretty much Italian as hell. So it's just really weird. He's a fascist that hates the big corporations. I don't understand. Anyway, the guy's a fucking dummy. That's the bottom line, man. The laughs were fucking strong. I missed a lot of the game, but having that happen really made the game worthwhile because, hey, the guy brought me luck. He brought bad luck to Everton, but I don't give a shit, man. The guy was honestly hilarious. I had never experienced somebody that fucking good at jinxing something. He's insane. He's literally insane. I mean, it's just, the guy must be some kind of spellbinder. I honestly don't have any way of possibly describing how bad this guy is at predictions. I can't imagine how good he is at breaking down games because, I mean, if his opinions on that game are always as accurate as what happens when he says it on TV, there must be some absolute laughs for anybody who watches that shit. So I'm going to try to find out what show it is But, I mean, Jesus Christ, that guy's fucking hilarious. Anyway, United, moving on, are probably going to be continuing to do similar results all season long. And hopefully, this is going to continue to... We're just going to continue to improve because the team is still gelling. There's still some moments where we have some time. We have a little bit of struggles here and there. But still, man, we are looking like a solid team. Looking like a team that can actually absolutely go out there and win this league. As long as we don't blow it against the small teams, then we are going to be doing completely fine. And once we play against City, that's going to be... Those two games are going to be the real defining factors of this season. That's where we're going to find out who is really going to win this title. I mean... It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. I'm loving United's play. I'm loving the goals. I'm loving Jose Mourinho finally getting us back to playing to a similar degree of what we used to play with Sir Alex Ferguson, scoring a lot of goals, having a lot of chances, and just overall playing some really good football. This season has been tremendous for United. 3-0 against Basel in the Champions League. Have won every game easily in the Premier League except for that game against Stoke. It's tremendous, man. It is tremendous, and I look forward to seeing what the hell is next. Paul Pogba being out for 3 weeks or whatever, however amount of time it is. I think it was 3 weeks. I saw. Either way, man, that is a big loss, but I think that we can still cope with it because Fellaini, I don't like the guy, but he does a good job when he comes on. This season, he's been doing pretty well. Last season, he also did a pretty decent job too. As long as he isn't too close to the box and doing some dumb shit, giving fouls away near our box, then he's fine. I always am terrified whenever he gets close to the box, but still, he's been doing a good job. He did pretty well against Everton. Obviously, we have Ender Herrera also on the bench, so we have enough players to really fill out that gap. Maybe not to the same skill and degree of absolute dominance as Paul Pogba, but still, we have a good team. We have the players that we can really fill his role. I'm hoping that we will continue to get these results and really show everybody that United are fucking back. We are fucking back, baby. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit the shit out of that like button. Soccer kick that bitch. Much like Sheldon would have done in Pride. Or Vanderlei fucking Silva, if you want to be an absolute axe murderer. Also, guys, if you enjoyed it, please share the video and subscribe to the channel. That's always extremely helpful, and I'm extremely grateful to anybody who does that. Thank you for sitting through a couple of my rants because they were probably pretty boring. I think they were pretty interesting, but I don't know. I'm not really good at ranting. I don't really do it a whole lot. That's at least not on camera, so I have to work on that. And I want to do a podcast down the line, so that would be interesting, I think, in my opinion. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Diego from the Foot and Fist Sports Network, and I will see you in the next video.